between the wrist and the elbow. Oh, whacked my nose. That didn't feel good. Oh, it's not bleeding, is it? No. Okay, I'm good. Well, hello and welcome to Michelle's Fiber Studio podcast. My name is Michelle and I am your host. Today is Monday, August 12th, and this is episode number 18 of the podcast. Yeah, episode 18. I don't know why I have a hard time remembering that number every week, but it's episode 18. It is a gorgeous sunny day today. It is in the high 60s. We've got the windows open, so I apologize for any road noise. We are also dog sitting, so I have an extra dog in the house. So if you hear the dogs clacking around or they get set off, hopefully they won't, and I can get through this without them interrupting me, but we're just going to have to roll with it. So I have a lot to talk about today. I have 5 projects, nothing new that I've completed, but 5 projects to share some updates on, including a new cast on. But before I dive in, how about we talk about Marta? What Marta's wearing. Doesn't look like this is picking up. There's some sparkle in this. I don't know. Anyway, this pattern here is called Quite the Opposite. It is by Stephanie Shiman from Wonderland Yarns. And the yarn is from Wonderland Yarns. It is their Mad Hatter is the purple, and then, which is 100% merino sport. And Unicorn is the sparkly one, and it is a silk mohair nylon blend, and it's got some sparkle. So this was actually a kit, or at least the 2 yarns were a kit that I had gotten back, I think it was again in June of 2020 from my local yarn store as they were going out of business. And I held on to it for a couple of years and decided to knit this pattern, which came from Wonderland Yarns. I think that there was a pattern suggestion on the label when it was bundled together. I don't think it was this pattern, but I don't remember 100%. But at any rate, it is yarn and pattern from both Wonderland Yarns or Fab Just Fibers. And I knit this, I started it, I think it was the end of June of 2022 and finished it at the beginning of September 2022, so the whole summer long. This is one, it was another one that I reach for a lot, and I know I've been kind of saying that. I wear a scarf like every day in the wintertime, or a shawl actually really is what it amounts to, but I've got something around my neck pretty much every day from middle of October until end of April, 1st of May ish. I get cold fairly easily. I like the comfort of that. I like how it looks. So yes, I have a lot of shawls. At some point I'll have to throw in a quick tour in the middle of a podcast. It's not enough to do a whole episode all by itself, but a quick tour of my shawl room. Well, it's my walk-in closet, but where I've got them hung on the wall and kind of give you an overview of what I have. But this is another one that I reach for quite a lot. I love the colors. The sparkle is just kind of fun. And where it's a single color, it's a little easier to pair with my clothes. Sometimes it's a lot of fun to knit shawls that have lots of different colors in them, but they can be a little harder to wear because they're harder to color match. So where this is reads pretty much as purple, it's a little easier to wear. So at any rate, that is my Quite the Opposite shawl. And with that, let's go ahead and dive in. So as I said, I have 5 projects to share with you today. Where do I want to start? How about we start with the new one, shall we? Sure. So last week, you might recall that I showed the yarn that I had gotten from my latest Yarnables mailing. So we're middle of August, so I would imagine that everybody who gets it should have seen it by now, but I am showing the yarn off. So by chance you haven't received yours or opened it, just be forewarned. But I cast on a pair of socks. Remember how excited I was? So here are my socks. So much fun. I was so excited to wind this yarn up. Here's here's the yarn. Look at that. I was so excited to wind it up that I neglected to take pictures of the yarn in the skein form. So if you ever go and take a look at my Ravelry pages and my project pages, which in turn link to my stash, I am pretty faithful about recording everything that has to do with yarn and my projects in Ravelry. I really, really like tracking it in that way. I have another spreadsheet where I'm also kind of tracking my ins and outs. I'm not trying to stash down per se. Generally speaking, I'm trying to knit more than I bring in, but I'm not being overly strict about it either. But anyway, that's a complete aside. Oh, excuse me. I'm also recovering from that cold that I had all last week. Still got a little bit of a tickle, so hopefully that's not going to be a problem for me today. Anyway, oh my goodness, I am digressing all over the place. I always, in my stash pages, I put a picture of the full skein of yarn, and then I crop it down to just a small square that really focuses in really tight on the yarn itself. So I can kind of see the twist, I can see the colors really good, and that becomes the first picture that you see when you see all of your stash laid out. That's the first picture that I see. So anyway, I was so excited to wind this yarn up, I forgot to take a picture of the skein before I wound it. So I have to content myself with the cake. And then I think I zoomed in on the top of the cake, and that's what I cropped down to be my front page. But this yarn, again, is my Yarnables yarn for the month of August. And the colorway name is Neon Graffiti. This is their plush sock, which is, I think it's 80-20, 85-15 superwash merino nylon. It's a great, great yarn base. I really, really enjoy this for all kinds of different projects. Last year I did something where I knit a cowl for all of my nieces. I have 5, 6, 7 of them in all, so they all got a cowl in different yarns, and I used my Yarnables yarn for all of them. I gave them to them at Christmas. Oh my gosh, it was the cutest thing. Maybe I can throw a picture of them all in wearing their cowls after they opened them. It was super cute. Anyway, I digress for the 5th time, I think. So my socks, I knit my socks cuff down, and I use 56 stitches. I knit on 2 circular needles, and when I get to the heel, excuse me, my heel of choice is the OMG heel by Megan Williams. I don't even know how many pairs of socks I've done with the OMG heel, and I got it completely memorized. It's fast, it's a short row heel. I probably can do it in about 15 or 20 minutes. So it's super, super easy for me at this stage of the game. So I'm really having fun with these. I know Neon Graffiti is the colorway name, but it's kind of like birthday colors, isn't it? Looks like confetti to me. These are going to be a really fun pair of socks to wear come winter time when it is getting cold and gray. All right, that tickle was really bothering me. I just paused for a second, took a nice drink of water. Hopefully it is going to play nice with me. I'm really hoping, because I got a lot to talk about, and talking is probably going to trigger it, but we're going to keep charging ahead. So let's go with one of my shawls. We're going to start with The Right Stuff. This is by Bristol Ivy. And I got a fair amount done on this. Well, okay, maybe not as much as I thought. That's okay. So there we go. I was down here where my stitch marker is. This is my little Tika stitch marker from, I think it's Littlest Charm Co. on Etsy. Tika's my black lab. But so I got, not a small amount done. I think this is a total of 12 rows. And it's really starting to take up. I had to switch to a larger needle, as I recall. Did I make a note? Yeah. So I am about 75% through its stripe section number 2. If you have the pattern, that will make sense to you. So I have to do 2 more of these cluster and garter row combos. And then I will have the short row section number 2. And then I launch into the border. So I still have a fair amount of knitting, but it's moving along. I think it would be really nice to get this done by the end of the month. If not the end of the month, then definitely by, I want to say it's September 8th or September 2nd. I'm going to have to double check. I'm going to be doing the pigskin party, which is with Boston Jen of the Down Cellar Studio. I have done that for the last, I think officially I've done it for the last 4 years maybe. Unofficially, it's probably been 6 or 7. And that starts with the beginning of the American football season, which actually is the very beginning of September, right around, I can't remember if it's Labor Day weekend or the weekend immediately after Labor Day, but that's the first day. And projects that you enter for points and all of that, it's just a knit along that follows the entire football season. The projects that you enter for points, in order for them to count, have to be started on or before the first day of the football season and then completed by the Super Bowl. So it'd be nice to kind of wrap up some of these lingering projects that I have on the needles. Considering I got 5 sitting right here on my table, that should keep me plenty busy until the pigskin party starts. I'm hoping that sometimes I tend to set these things aside and then not work on them at all during that time, but I really don't want these to linger until February, so we're gonna see how much we can get done. Maybe I need to take my notebook out and start kind of planning what that might look like, but at any rate, man, am I chatty today. Let's take a look at the yarn, and I know I've been doing this, but I'm gonna keep showing you because I think it's pretty. This is my main color. Both of these are from One Lupin or Main Yarn Fiber Supply. This one here is the Eastport, which is a Merino Wool Blend 80/20, and it's in Killing the Blues. And then my contrast color is this beautiful blue-green, and it is their Pemaquid line, which is a merino nylon, and the colorway string is Echo Lake. So I still have a fair amount, which is good because I still have a fair amount knitting. If I recall correctly, I believe the main color, Bristol says that she uses the entire skein. So this one I expect to use all the way, probably have a little bit of this left over. We'll see what we do with it and where we land when we get to the end. And I think that is really all that I need to say about this one. So let's tuck this one away back into my bag, and we'll take out my other shawl, which is my Flirty Shawl by Hilary Latimer. So where's my marker here? There we go. And this is my teacup paw that matches my, come on, see it? Yeah, there we go. So I have moved into color number 2, and I had a little hiccup this week. I wouldn't say it's a major hiccup, but it was a little hiccup. So I ran out of color 1 before I was supposed to, about 3.5 rows rather short. So I was supposed to switch colors in between these 2 garter rows here. Instead, I got about halfway through the first, so the right side row of the eyelet section. I think that's what it was. and I couldn't even make it across the row. So I unknit and cut it off and just switched to color 2 at that point. But then I went back and I started doing a little investigating because I was a little nervous. Okay, I run out of yarn before I was supposed to switch between colors 1 and 2, because in the pattern, Hilary actually made a note that if you're using a Miss Babs, is it a quartet, I think is what it's called, she actually tells you exactly where to switch your colors. So I pulled my yarn up, and I was just curious how much yarn I had as compared to how much I was supposed to have. And actually all 4 of my colors came in under the weight that they were supposed to have. I'm supposed to have 37 grams in each of my mini skeins, and I had between, did I put it in my notes? About 35.5 to 37.5. Nope, that can't be right because they were all under. Anyway, they were all under. And I think I want to say 35 and a half was the most that I had, or 36. I think that should have said 36 and a half. At any rate, I was short. And the one that I had the least of was color number 1. So I went poking around some more and to just see how much other people had used up of their yarn. There's only, I think, a total of 13 or 14 projects currently. This is a brand new pattern, just came out middle of July. But one of them was, I'm pretty sure it was a test knit because it's got the pictures that were used in the promotional artwork that was used to promote the product, to promote the pattern rather. And this particular knitter was really good about listing exactly how much she used. And I don't think I listed the amounts. I didn't put the amounts in my notes. The only color that they used completely was color number 1. And they actually used the least of color number 2. So I'm feeling pretty good that doing the extra 3 or 4 rows in color number 2, I'm gonna be okay. If I have to make an adjustment in the pattern further down, then that's what I'm gonna do. But I was a little disappointed that I couldn't actually reach that point. And I was a little surprised. And I actually, when I weighed them all, because I always weigh them all before I get started knitting, put those numbers right into my project page. So you can go check my numbers for me because clearly I didn't make good notes. And I remember being a little bit surprised that they came in so much under, because usually most dyers err on the positive side. And I've had up to 5 grams, 6 grams, even 7 grams more, like 100 gram skein I've had come in at 106 or 107 grams. So usually they err on that side of the equation and not on the under side of the equation. I think this is one of the only times that I've had that happen, and unfortunately that's one of the colors that I probably needed it to be pretty close to a full mini skein. So I'm not gonna contact Miss Babs. I'm really not gonna worry about it because I think I'm gonna be okay. I guess if I get to the very end of the pattern and I truly do have a big problem, I could let Miss Babs know, although at that point it's not like I'm gonna redo it, so I'm just gonna fudge it if I have to. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, but yeah, we'll see. But anyway, that's my Flirty. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving the pattern. I'm enjoying the color play of these 2 colors are pretty close together. Oh, I actually didn't show you any of the labels this time, did I? So here's my Miss Babs label, has the 4 colors listed, and then these are the other 2 colors that I'm going to be doing. This one's got some pinkish, and I don't know if that's picking up really well in the camera. This one you can probably see has some little hints of green and pink. So this is going to be color number 3, and that's going to be color number 4. So it's going to be really pretty when it's done. And I'm happy and excited to have this one off. I think it's going to be one that I reach for a lot because it's going to be so neutral and it's going to blend with a lot of different things. So that is my Flirty by Hilary Latimer. How about we talk next about my Longline Cardigan. And this is a project by Locatelli. I've made some really good progress on this one. So let's talk about the yarn first. So my yarn is a bamboo blend from Regia. I have 3 skeins of this. They're 437 yard skeins. Got these from my local yarn store when they were going out of business. And now let's show you where I'm at. So I am working on the back. So last week I was doing this side. Yeah. There's my stitch marker here. My Parker's Keeper. That's my Molly paw. Oh, come on. Turn around. And here, how about if I can't see. If I hold this in front of me, it blocks my face, but then I can't see if it's actually showing. At any rate, so I knit all, this is the, I think, right front. I knit all of that. I am now working on the back, and then these stitches are on hold for the left front, and this whole thing is a collar. So it's going to be, to the best of my understanding, now that I'm a little bit further in, something like this. Going like that. I'm a little wondering how I'm gonna like it. I feel like the collar is really, really tall, and it does look really tall in the pattern pictures, but this looks really tall, and I don't know if my gauge is just significantly different, or I really don't know. I'm charging ahead and hoping for the best. Yeah, I guess that's all I'll say about that. And I've already had extensive conversations with you about my concerns about running out of yarn, so we're not going to belabor that point, but suffice it to say, it is moving along. I'm eager to get to the point where I've split off for the armholes and I'm really just kind of working back and forth in the body, and I think that's going to tell me a lot, and that's going to give me a lot of information. And if I decide that the collar is too tall, I'm probably going to rip it out. I'll be honest. I talked about how I'm nervous about not having enough yarn, so that would solve that problem. And B, I don't want something I'm not going to enjoy wearing and liking, and now's the time to stop, right? It's a big project, and you don't want to get all the way to the end and go, oh shoot, that collar? Yeah, I really am not enjoying it. And that was, oh dear, way at the very beginning, so there's no way to take it out, especially since the collar is worked this direction and the rest of it is worked this direction, so, or this direction as the case may be. So anyway, that is my Longline Cardigan by Locatelli. All right, take another sip of water. The cough is holding off, so I think we're gonna be okay. And my last project is my Boxy. I'm excited to talk about this one. Look where I am at. It's tight on the needles. Hopefully I'm not gonna, I don't wanna lose my stitches, but look how much I got done. Look at that, all of this. So do you remember last week when I was talking about it and I said that I had worked on it all day long at a board meeting and I got like 4 inches done or something? Well, that really feels like it was a turning point for me with this project. And I'm starting now to actually see, because it's like 16 inches on 270 stitches, I think is what I've cast on. So it's feeling like actually I might actually have a sweater sometime. You know what? I'm afraid my battery is going to run out. It's blinking at me. I'm going to stop before I lose all of this previous footage. All right, so turns out it wasn't my battery. It was my memory card that was full. So take 3. Yep, still learning about my new camera. Where was I? My Boxy and yes, I remember. I was talking about how I knit on this at my board meeting, and I feel like that board meeting was really a turning point because I got so much done. It just really encouraged me to keep going. So last week after I recorded, I decided that I needed to set myself some goals. And I was about halfway through, I think I was at 7.5 inches, as I recall, on the body. And I timed myself, and it takes me about 30 minutes to knit 4 rounds all the way around. Again, remember, it's 270 stitches. So I decided that as much as I might like to knit a whole inch a day, trying to take on 8 rounds or an hour's worth of knitting was probably too big of a bite, a little too ambitious. But I could probably commit to, or really try to make a goal of doing 4 rounds a day or a half of an inch. So that's what I've been doing. I actually, even in my notebook, created myself a little tracker. So I have just been, you can see I got the week of August 5th is where I started. And that wasn't a full week at that point, because I think when I started was Tuesday. August 12th of this week, and then that's 3 days left next week. And I have been doing that faithfully. Every day I have been knitting a half of an inch. And isn't it just really interesting when you set even a small goal, how much you can get accomplished? So I am really excited to be making such great forward progress. I'm starting to get a smidge worried. Tell me if you've heard this before. A smidge worried that I might not have enough yarn. it took me a full skein to do 7.5 inches, which means that it's going to take me another full skein to get to 15 inches, and I'm supposed to do 16 inches. And then I have the whole like yoke plus the sleeves. Now, granted, on a boxy, the beginning of the sleeve starts like right here. You see me on my arm? And it just goes down to here. So it's fairly skinny at this point. And I have talked about how I don't like my sleeves to be super long. I don't think these are supposed to be anyway. As I recall, they're intended to stop like halfway between, so like 3/4 sleeves, halfway between the wrist and the elbow. Oh, whacked my nose. That didn't feel good. Oh, it's not bleeding, is it? No. Okay, I'm good. Anyway, so I'm a little nervous that since it's going to look like take me 2 full skeins to get from the bottom to the armpits, that one skein might not be quite enough for the yoke and the sleeves. I'm not sure. I might stop at 15 inches and not do the extra inch. I don't know. Again, I'm living dangerously. I don't normally do that, but yeah, here is where we're at with my projects these days, kind of pushing it to the very edge, right? I think it'll all work out. At least that's what I'm telling myself at this point. Oh, now my tickle's back. I did block it last week before putting it back on the needles, and it came out to about 56 inches, which is about 2 inches smaller than when I had blocked it when I only had about this much. But I'm still plenty happy with that. It is still a lot less, and I think 64 is what the pattern is written for, but I don't want something that oversized. So I think 56 inches is going to be just fine as far as the oversizeness of the pattern. But and now I'm rambling, so I think we're going to wind up this section and move on. I have nothing new on my yarn shelf. I have no project dreams at this point. Probably maybe next week or the week after I might start thinking about what I am going to knit once I get all of these projects done at the beginning of the pigskin party. But for right now, I don't have anything on the horizon. So we're going to go right into my random knitting fact. This one is a little interesting. I got it off of Fact Retriever. And the fact given said that between the years 2002 and 2004, the number of female knitters in the US ages 25 to 35 increased nearly 150%. So this was focusing on young women knitters, and that it was a 150% increase, which is fascinating. That because knitting is one of those things that a lot of people think about as like grandma's thing, you know, old lady type of hobby. But of course we know that there are lots and lots of men that like to knit too. And I would be curious, this website didn't focus or mention anything about male knitters, but I would actually be curious to know what that number was and what the increase of that. I bet it's actually even higher than the 150%. But just showing that knitting is really catching on as a hobby for all ages, and that demographic of 25 to 35 in particular where they focus. And again, that was between 2002 and 2004. Trying to think of what was going on in the world at that point in time. So 9/11 had just happened. I don't know if that factors in. I can't think. Well, we had, and that kind of shifted. The focus was the war on terror out in the Middle East, but I don't know that that would impact a decision for anybody to take up knitting and hobbies and such. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts on why at that particular point in time in history, gotta love the stock cars that love to go racing by. I live at the end, like right at an intersection, so it kind of comes to a T. And honestly, the number of people who peel off of that corner to take a left to go past my house is incredible. When my kids were babies, and in the summertime when I had the windows open, it felt like I no sooner had them asleep and some car or motorcycle would just go peeling out of that corner and wake them up, and it used to irritate me so much. Anyway, I've digressed again. So that was my fact for today. In my day today, I have actually a fair bit to talk about this week, if this is interesting to you. We are, of course, gearing up for the start of the new school year. I have 2 full weeks before I go back as a staff member. But last Wednesday, the team leaders met and just started to talk about different things and plan out our school year and how things were going to happen. That was a whole day long event. I had started my sock and I knit the cuff. I didn't do a ton of knitting, but I did get the cuff done. While I think I had like 3 rounds done when I got there, so that was good. I think I do 20 rounds of my cuff, so that was a fair amount of knitting. And we did that all day Wednesday. I had 2 rehearsals, 2 nights where I had to go and spend an hour or 2. One of them was 1 hour, one of them was 2 hours, working on the show that I'm going to meet in right after Labor Day. And so that was fun. On Friday, we celebrated my sister-in-law's 40th birthday. It was a surprise party. Her daughters kind of pulled it together, and they did, oh my gosh, they did such a good job decorating. It was in a friend's barn, so the aesthetic was just really kind of cool. They did all the decorating themselves. I think I've got a picture or 2 that I can pop in right here and just kind of show you what they did. It was so cute. They had stopped by my house to pick up some really big folding tables to use, and they saw all the wildflowers out in my yard, and they ended up cutting a whole bunch of them, and they're like I don't know what they're called, but they're really tall purple ones, and they had them all over, and it kind of looked like lavender a little bit, and that's one of my sister-in-law's favorite flowers. So it was just super pretty. They did a great job. And so I did the rest of the knitting on my sock. The leg, that was all done during the birthday party. So that was kind of cool. And then on Saturday, we had my niece, the youngest, who is 5. We had her all day while her older sisters went to Augusta for the state track meet. So we got to spend the day with her, and that was that was an adventure. She was actually super great, super easy. She's getting a little older now. At one point, I let her help me wind some yarn, which was a fun experience for her. I needed another ball of my yarn for my Boxy. This is my last skein. The skein, you can't really tell because it's in here. It's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. I think one of these, yeah, there's a big end here that I'm just kind of tucking into my yarn cozy right now. Hopefully it'll be okay. I don't know, maybe I might need to think about rewinding it before I get started, but I think it'll be okay. She had a good time with that. At another point, she was getting a little bored, and I have a little glass jar where I've been throwing yarn snips, so like ends at the end of projects. Occasionally I might have a longer scrap that I just throw them in this little, I think it's like a votive holder or something, but it's like a glass globe anyway. And I've been throwing them in there, and it's just decorative, and it's pretty, and I think it's pretty. But she saw that, and she was picking through there, and they just got cats. So they had kittens, 3 kittens that they got, well, let's say it was the week we went camping, so 3 weeks ago. And she decided that she needed some yarn for her kittens. So I let her dump out all of the scraps and go sorting. She sorted through and she pulled out all kinds of different scraps. I let her take home 6 or 7 of them, and she thought that was just, the cat's meow. See that? That was very much a pun intended. So she had a good time with that, and yeah, it was a good day. We had a lot of fun with her. She's so cute and so spunky and really at a fun age. So this is also the one who we went mini golfing with only about a month ago for her birthday when she turned 5. So Yeah, that is pretty much it. I had a cold that I was nursing all week long, so it was a busy week, but as much as I could, I tried to lay low. I still get a few little vestiges of it, but I think I'm getting there. And I'm really just going to try to soak up these next 2 weeks before I have to go back to work. I've got a couple of days here and there that I'm going to work for like a few hours here and there. Try not like onboard new students basically, but that's where that's how that's shaping up right now. So that is all I have for today in this very long and very rambly episode. If you have stuck with me, thank you very much. I really appreciate you. If you like this video, please feel free to hit the like button and or subscribe so you'll know when I put out new videos. You can find me on a Ravelry and Instagram as Knittin Michelle, KNITTINMICHELLE. And you can also, if you'd like to send me an email, and that is at michellesfiberstudio@gmail.com. I will have links for all of these things down below in the show notes. And with that, I hope you have a fantastic week and happy knitting.